Hey everyone, good morning or good afternoon wherever you are in the world right now. This is going to be charting on the Nadex platform webinar. I'm going to take you through obviously the charting on the Nadex platform. So let's get right into it here. Apologies if my voice is a little hoarse today. Feeling just a slight bit under the weather, unfortunately. So here we have our beautiful disclaimer that we always go through. I'll leave this on screen for 1 second. This disclaimer, what it basically says is, don't use money that you need for something else. Just use discretionary income for trading, because trading does involve risk. Any money that you put up both here and in Nadex is always money that you're risking when trading. So make sure that you're making the correct decisions as to what money that you're using to put up. You don't want to, get into a bad spot. Just be using that discretionary income, right? And also, I will be placing some trades on the platform today, just to show you functionally how the charting works. None of these trades are going to be recommendations to make a trade. You probably shouldn't follow the trades I'm going to be making, because I'm just going to be making them completely randomly to show you the charting functionality and not much else. All right, we'll move on here. And if you do have any questions during the webinar, throw them up. I have my questions chat over on my left screen here, so I will see them as they come in. I'll do my best to answer them as they come in. And if you do want to wait till the end, you can ask questions at the end as well. So a little bit about me. I've been working at Nadex for about 4 years now. For the last 3 or so years, been focusing primarily on both our products, all the new products that you see coming onto the exchange, and then our platform as well. So this new platform, it's not new now, it's been out for a couple of years, but was there from the beginning in the sort of development and design of the platform. So that's why I like to give these platform and charting focused webinars, just because I've been around and can hopefully answer any questions you have about why certain things work a certain way. And yeah, just personal trading experience. Been trading about 12 years or so, ever since I legally could, and mostly focusing on equity options. Do a little bit of commodities here and there, but yeah, not much else besides that. So let's get into it real quick. I'll get off this screen with my pre-COVID headshot. So we're going to go through, first of all, this is just a real quick agenda before we get into the actual platform. We're going to go through the actual chart features. And then if we have time, we're going to do a quick, just kind of a primer, very beginner level on your EMA and your RSI, your exponential moving average technical indicator, and your relative strength index technical indicator. This isn't going to go too in depth, and sometimes the actual explanation of the features takes a little while. So we will do our best to get to the very base explanation of that EMA and RSI. So without any further ado, let's jump into the platform here. So this is the platform. You can obviously see, this is where you go. You can go to nadex.com, hit the login screen, and this will come up. I'm going to log into my demo account here. I always like to use my I Like Nadex demo account. Log in, and here we are. So this is the platform as you see it when it first logs in. You have that nice little charting area in the middle that does that nice little graph of the candles moving across upon login. And this is going to be the main area, obviously, we're focusing on during this webinar here. So let's bring up just any contract. Let's do US 500. Why not, right? So we're going to do US 500 and US 500 daily. So obviously, to get here, you have your binary options, call spreads, and knockouts, and then you want to click into your markets and into your preferred market and time. If you do want further explanation on all of the other functions on the charts, or sorry, on the platform itself, I do once a month a platform webinar as well. That one was last week, so you can definitely find recordings of that on the YouTube. And we will go, and I'm just going to pick like a 50-50 sort of thing. And here we have our beautiful charts right up in the middle. This one's very, very busy. Let me real quick get this so we can see it a little bit better. Okay. So we have all our charts, we have all our strikes, and I'm actually going to make the chart the main focus of the screen here. So in order to do that, you can hide these side panels, the deal ticket, the order panel position at the bottom by just hitting these hide buttons with these double arrows. And now we have a big old chart in the middle. And I am actually, you know what? We're gonna do an FX pair, just because this one has so many strikes. It's gonna be harder to see which one I'm actually clicking on. So let's go do euro dollar. That one is fairly popular one that I like trading. We'll do it daily. When I like trading on my demo account, of course. Okay. So here we have our chart. We have all our strikes. So the first thing I want to look at here, so for the binary strikes, for the call spreads and the knockouts, we have different sort of graphical overlays for the product itself. For the binary strikes, though, we have these lines obviously going across. So these are all your strike prices, and you can choose them all from the chart itself. So you can see where the chart's been moving, right, where the underlying market's been moving, and then say, okay, well, you can get at this binary, right? This one pricing at 69, and you can see that the lines are right where the strikes are. So if I want to open up a deal ticket and actually place a trade, I can do that directly from the chart. I can hit this, and I can hit my place order, get into a trade like that. So that's going to be kind of the graphical representation, and you can see also if I hit on the red side or the blue side, the buy or the sell, it's going to shade above and below the actual strike price, so you can get a little bit more visual representation of where you need that product to expire in order to have a contract expire in the money for you to get the $100 payout at the end of the contract itself. So let's go into the functionality. So the functionality here on the chart, it's either going to be contained on the top left here, so up here. No, I can't pointing with my hand, but y'all can't see where I'm pointing to. So it's going to be either the top left, or you can right click on the chart itself, and you're going to have much the same options with right click. There's only a couple that you can't do from right click. So the first one that you can't do by right clicking is this interval. This interval, it's fairly standard on most charts. What this interval does is select the interval of the candlesticks that you're seeing on the chart. So right now I have it set to 30 minutes. So each of these candlesticks is telling me what happened in one 30-minute period. I can change that to 3 hours. Obviously now I'm seeing more of the chart, and it kind of scrunches up my strikes on the left-hand side, or I can go down to let's say 1 minute. Let's say I'm trading a 5-minute binary. I want to know what's happening every minute on the minute. I can change down to that as well. Now, a first little kind of advanced tip or trick of this webinar. So if you see here, when you click into this menu at the top left, you can see these very small kind of grayed out numbers and a couple of letters here. So see next to 30 minutes, it says 30, next to 15 minutes, it says 15. Those are actually hotkeys. So if I go in here and I start just typing on my keypad, let's say 1.5 and hit enter, that's going to actually change the candlestick directions to 15-minute candles right there. So you can do that. There are a bunch of hotkeys, but so you can do that. If you want to do 1 hour, you do 1H. If you don't want to do 1 day, you can do 1D, right? So you can very easily from your keyboard itself switch up the intervals you're looking at. I use these hotkeys a fair bit. It's a little bit clunky to actually learn them at first, but once you do, I think it's a lot better than having to go all the way up to the top left, click, drag down. Obviously that doesn't seem like it's that much work, but if you can cut that out like 100 times in a day by just hitting 15 on your keyboard, it does end up saving some time there. And if you're ever trying to learn these hotkeys, you're confused about what they are, you can look over here, and it's these little grayed out numbers to the right of the actual named candlestick duration itself. All right, so we're going on here. This next little box here, if you hover over, it says date range. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. All right, so if you go over to this box here, you see the date range panel. So you can go down and you can actually show how far back you want the chart to show. So in this one, obviously, we're showing how large we want the actual candlesticks. In this panel, we're saying how much we want the entire chart to be showing. So if I want to see 1 month's worth of data, I can click this, and it actually usually does change the candlesticks to make it a little bit better. But if we hover over here, you can see this was on Monday, October 18th. Today is November 18th, so I have 1 month of data here. So just an easy way to go back and say if I want 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or if I just want 1 week of data, right? I can put that on, and wow, there are a lot of strikes showing. All right, moving on over. For the rest of this webinar, those are the only two charting functionality that you can only access from the top left. For the rest of the webinar, I am going to use the right-click method. There we go. Just because I personally like this a lot better. I think it's a lot easier just to right click on the chart itself, and you can get to what you're looking for a lot faster. So first we have our indicators, and you can see we have a large number of indicators that we actually offer on the platform here. So you can choose any of these, and we will go into some of them a little bit later. One of the cool bits of functionality, though, if you don't know what one of these indicators are, you can hover over this little information panel, and this information panel is going to give you a little bit of a explanation as to what they are. So if you don't know what a Donchian channel is, you hover over, you say it's a band that highlights the most recent high swing and that swing low for your chosen market. Okay, let's put Donchian channel on. You click it, and there we have our Donchian channels on the chart itself. Now, once you actually put an indicator on the chart, and obviously you can put multiple on the charts, we can, we'll do our average true range. Some of them come up at the bottom of the chart. Some of them are overlaid on the chart itself. If you want to change any of the actual functionality of the individual indicator, right? So let's say for our Donchian channel, we want to change the period it's showing. So we can say, okay, so this is the default is 20. Let's say we want to look at 30 period, and we want our upper ranges to be dotted. Let's say we want all of our ranges to be dotted and the middle one to be thicker, right? So you're going to be able to change up basically all of your indicator functionality by pressing, and I'll show you where that click is again, because I know it is a little bit hard to see sometimes. So it's going to be in the bottom left or top left. So bottom left of the actual chart itself, or if you have one that's kind of overlaid on the bottom, not overlaid. If you have an indicator that's on the bottom of the chart, that's going to be the top left box. So we'll go into the average true range here. I can change the average true range. Let's say I want a 21-day period or a 21 candlestick period rather than a 14-day. And let's say I want the fill color to be green, and then I can apply and I can change that up. So this is going to be where again, you find all that functionality right here. You just want to click on it. If you do want to remove these indicators, you can also very easily click this X box, and there you go. It's a little X in the box, not the gaming system. You click this X, and it's going to remove the indicator from the chart itself. There we go. No more indicators on the charts. I'm going to throw just one more on here for a second. So that's going to be everything with the indicators that you can really show on the chart. Actually, I'll show you guys why I'm taking this on in a second. So that's going to be really everything with the indicator. Again, you can hover over the side. This is going to give you a brief explanation, but if you want to learn more, we do have articles on our site where you can learn more about each individual indicator. Moving on to our drawings. So drawings are much like the indicators. You can hover over. So if you don't know what an arrow is, you can hover over. You can say, okay, this is what an arrow is, and I can draw an arrow. Oh, let's draw one actually going towards something. Why don't we? See, okay, so if I want to look at this specific drawing, excuse me, I can point it out with an arrow. I can also, there are some in here. I know I joke about not knowing what an arrow is, but there are some in here like Elliott Waves that aren't the most common thing. So if you do ever want to know this, you can say, okay, and I can draw my Elliott Waves on here. And that's obviously not how you normally draw an Elliott Wave, just using that for an example. A couple of sort of interesting bits with this. So first of all, if you do want to delete all your drawings, you can go down to the bottom, delete all drawing. It's going to knock them all off. If you accidentally do that, you can hit this undo. One thing, so if you like drawing on your charts a lot, you like putting channels on, saying this is the certain candlestick, etc. If you like drawing on your charts a lot, what I recommend is hitting the Show Drawing Toolbar button. That's going to overlay this toolbar. I don't know if you saw that in the bottom left, right? So this toolbar right here wasn't here before. If you hit Show Drawing Toolbar, you can toggle that on and off. And this is going to allow you to just obviously, pick any of the drawings from here itself. So let's say I want to do my gamma fan, and I can go like this, and obviously now my chart looks sort of horrendous. There we go. We have our different levels here. And you can just continually put more charting on. You can get this away by clicking this little X here. And I'm going to delete these drawings because it's looking quite busy. The one other thing I want to point out in the drawing toolbar or the drawing options here. So there's one other thing. So this is snap to Hlfc prices, and this is always hard to actually show. So let me try to zoom in here so I can show you this. So right now I'm snapping to the Hlfc prices, which means the Hlfc is the high, low, open, close of the candlesticks, right? So every candlestick is showing you the high, the low, the open and the close of the periods. So if I snap to this, if I actually go and do my arrow, see how my cursor is kind of snapping to these points as I move it away. It's kind of snapping there, right? It's snapping to the top. It's the open, the close, the low. So it's snapping a little bit, and so I can very easily draw something that points directly to it, or I can draw, whatever drawings. If I take this away, you'll see that it doesn't really snap as much. So just one other little thing, but now you'll see it's not actually snapping to this direct point, so I can't actually, put it directly on there. If you want to turn it on or off, it's completely up to you. Actually, most people don't really notice it, but I do like to go over that functionality just because it is functionality that's available in the platform. All right, we're going to move on here to our types, to our different types of our candlesticks. Give me 1 second. So our different types of our candlesticks, or our different chart types, sorry about that. So the first one, and the default and the most common is going to be the candlestick chart type. That's what most people use, and is the default on, I would say, probably 95% of platforms out there. But you do have some other options here. So you have your Hloc candles. If I zoom out, I'm not going to fully go into an explanation of what exactly Hloc is, but very basically, it sort of takes an average of the periods rather than taking the just a straight high, low, open, close of the candlesticks, and so it gives you these kind of smoothed out, up and down trends rather than the your traditional candlesticks, which are a lot more choppy up and down, right? So that's basically what the Hloc does. If you do want to learn more about that, I think we have an article on our site about that as well. Moving on down, we have our line chart. It's a line chart, fairly self-explanatory there. We have our Hlfc chart. So this is going to be, it kind of gives the same or similar information to what your base candlestick charts give. It just sort of puts them in a different way that some people find a little bit easier to actually read, because it always sort of has the high, low, open, close, or just set kind of put it in a different way rather than just having the whole candlestick bar, right? And we have lastly our mountain chart. Mountain basically aligned with the shading underneath. So again, fairly self-explanatory. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to go back to our candlesticks just for the remainder of this webinar. All right, moving on down here. This is one that I want to talk about in a little bit more detail because this is, I think, maybe a more overlooked feature of the charts. This is the price. So generally, almost always, I would recommend keeping the price on last traded. And why that is, so let me open this up here. So you can see here, as this this indicator moves up and down, right? This indicative price 113684, 113684, right? They're moving together as they sort of should be. If I go ahead and I change the price to, let's say, the ask, you'll see that, okay, now my indicative price isn't showing the same as what is showing actually on the chart. Why is that? What's going on? It's because the chart is out now actually just showing the ask prices that we're receiving in the back end of the underlying market, right? So it's just showing those ask prices, so it's not going to be the same as the actual indicative price. Same thing if I go over to the bid. Again, we can see this 13683 is not this 113688 that's showing here as well. So again, this is why I sort of say leave it on last traded. Now I will go against that 1 second. I'd say primarily leave it on last traded because we do get a fair amount of questions about this saying, well, why is your indicative price not matching the chart? Something must be broken. And the number one thing we usually ask people to go look at is your chart set to last traded? That will be the default, right? So you would have to actually go in and manually update that. Now, the one time, and there are other times, so the one time that I mostly use the anything but the last traded is when I'm actually looking at the quick charts. So quick charts are another bit of functionality. So if we look up here in the top right, we have this little hamburger menu, right? We click it, and there's two options here. There's the tariff chart, which we will get to in a second, and then there's the switch to quick chart option. So if I actually switch to the quick chart here, you'll see I get a much different chart in front of me. And let's look at, we'll go look at like 1 minute candles. So I have a much different chart here in front of me. You'll see that there's no strikes overlaid, and There's no strikes overlaid, and the actual price it's showing is not really a euro dollar price, right? It's not, it should be somewhere around 11348. This is showing me a price of 71 or so. What the quick chart is doing is it's actually showing you the price of the not the underlying market. It's showing you the price of the binary option itself, or the call spread, or the knockout. It's showing you the price history of the actual product you're trading, rather than the price history of the underlying market on what you're trading. And so why I kind of like to do this, and let's get a, so you got to switch back over. Let me show you something here real quick. So let's get a deal ticket up and then switch back. I'm doing this quickly. So if we look at the deal ticket here, so right now it's doing the mid price, right? That's what it's going to default to into your quick chart. But let's say I want to get a history of what's happened to the ask price of this, right? Because this is just giving me the history of the midpoint as the market's been moving up and down for this exact binary, this exact strike on this exact binary. So if I go to, let's say, look at the ask price, well, now you can see it's showing me the ask price here. As this ask price moves up and down, there we go, 62.50. So it's actually showing me the price of the underlying market on the buy side. And if I go over and show that that bid price, it's going to show me the price of the underlying market on the sell side. It's going to move up and down with this sell side here. So you can see this is a pretty useful tool to actually see the price history of the underlying market, of the actual binary option rather than the underlying market. And this is one of the only times I would suggest, especially newer traders, to actually mess with that ask bid last traded, just because it can throw off other parts of the platform if you don't remember to change it back to last traded. So that's going to be the quick charts. And again, I could probably talk all day about these quick charts because I use them a lot when I'm trading on my demo account. I quite like them. It does give a very good price history of the actual, strike and option you are trading. Excuse me. So we're going to go back to our main charts here. And I'm going to switch this back to last traded. Yeah, we're going to switch it back to last traded just to make sure we have everything going correct there. So moving on down, moving on down, the next thing we have in our charting functionality here is the scale bar option, the scale option. So right now, it actually, the default of the scale when you actually come in is going to be linear. I usually keep mine on percentage just because that's a personal preference. So what does this do? Well, you can see here, let me get this out of here. You can see here right now on the right-hand side of the screen, as I'm moving up and down it, and all of the prices that are overlaid on the right-hand side of the screen are the actual prices of the underlying market itself, right? So the prices, they're euro dollar prices that are put in intervals up and down here, so you can see where the current price is in relation. If you go to scale percentage, this is going to change all of these, 1.13, etc., over to percentages, right? And this is actually, if you go back down to 0% here, you see I'm kind of circling it right now, the 0%. If you go over on 0%, this is going to start at the first candle that's showing on your chart. So you can get a really good idea. So this candle is last night at 11 p.m. So I can get a really good idea and say, okay, so that was at 0%. And this is at about 0.4%. So I can see that, oh, okay, euro dollars moved up about 0.4% in the last, how long is it? 12 hours or so. So pretty good movement. And this is how I like to analyze these charts a little bit more. I like to keep it on this functionality, so I can just see very easily the percentage movements that are happening on the chart itself very quickly. So that is going to be, so that's not the default. The default is going to be linear. If you do want to change it, you can go to percentage in the scale bar here. So next now we have the show. Excuse me. So this is just what is going to be showing on your chart. This is a lot of different functionality that you can either show or hide. Again, on default, most of these are going to be showing, but if you do want to turn them off, you absolutely can. So the first one is this Hloc data. This Hloc data, let me show you what it is. It's this box. See how this box is following me around? It's telling me, okay, this is the price, the last traded, the high, low, open, close, and change of that actual candle. It's this box that's following my cursor around. If I don't want that box following my cursor around, if I think it's too much, I can turn it off, and the box is still on. Again, there it is, and there it isn't. I'm going to keep that on because I personally like looking at it so I can get a better understanding of what the actual candlesticks are showing me. Moving on, now we have drawings, so let me throw a drawing on here real quick. There we go. Great Elliott Waves there. If we want to hide our drawings, we can go ahead and hide the drawings, and we can click them to get them back. If you are ever placing a drawing on the chart or you can't see your drawings, this should be really the first place to look. Make sure that it is actually showing the drawing functionality. Same thing with the indicators. If I go put an indicator on, I can go and hide or show all of my indicators in this easy panel. The open positions, the working orders, and the strikes. So let me actually place a working order so you can see what we are talking about here. So what I just did was place a working order. So I placed a limit order below the actual price of the market. And if the market actually ever gets down to the price that I place, it will automatically get me into that contract, right? So that's really what a working order is. And why I've placed that is because I want to show you they do overlay on the chart itself. So this was the order that I placed earlier, right at the beginning of the webinar. This is my open position. Many of you may have seen that for most of the time I've been talking, it's been red. It just went into a profitable state. So now it's showing as green. So obviously green is profitable. Red is in the red. And I can also see from the chart itself that it's +1 above 11348. So that means I have +1. That's one contract on the buy side above 11348. That's going to be my strike, that 11348 level. And as I go down here, here's my working order, right? +1. This is grayed out, so there's no profit, there's no loss because I'm not in this contract yet. This is just a working order that I can actually see. If I bring this up, right, this is this working order here. And it's, again, +1. If I were to put in a sell side contract, it would be -1 below. This is +1 above 11324. So there we go with our working orders and our open positions. And I'll show you here a sell side order as well. Let's get up just so you can see. I mean, I'm sure many of you will already understand this, but let's put this in here. So this is going to be another working order. We can see -1 above 11408. So there we have that -1. We want to be on the low side there. Now back to the showing and hiding, what we were just talking about. If I go in here, I can turn that on and off, right? So my open positions, it goes away, it comes back. My working orders, it goes away, it comes back. And then my strikes. So this one is actually one I use all the time because many of you may have noticed as we have gone in, as we've gone out, as our, we've been doing like 2-hour candles or let's say like daily candles, that it gets very scrunched up. There can be a lot of strikes on a single contract, right? And this is sort of messy to look at. Well, if you go in here and you turn off strikes, it will show you only the strike that you currently have selected. You can still click on these little kind of buttons on the right side and select a different strike, but it won't show you all the strikes. So if it's really busy on the chart itself, I generally hide the strikes. I think that's a better way to actually go about looking at it. And going back here, let's select this one, and we can hide the strikes again. There we go. This is the one we want to look at, the one we're trading. We can look at that itself without seeing every other strike price overlaid on the chart itself. And then we have our timeline. We can turn that on and off. That's at the bottom here. Now, for the last 4 things I showed you, the working orders, the open positions, the strikes, and the timeline, those have hotkeys as well. And I actually use these hotkeys all the time. So I think learning these, it does kind of speed up a lot of the processes you're doing. So for example, if you don't want to show your working orders, you can hit W. Let me make sure. And no, working orders is O. There we go. I'm showing that I do forget the hotkeys sometimes as well. So if you do forget the hotkeys, you could go in here and see it says POST, spells out nice post. So I can turn my open positions
on and off, pressing P. See that happening over here. I can turn my working orders on and off as well. See that happening over there. My timeline at the bottom, I'm pressing T, and then my strikes. And this is probably the one I use most. I hit this S button all the time. You know, I'll be going around, I want to choose a strike, and I just hit S, hides it real quick. A lot easier than, you know, clicking a few times on you with your mouse. Just using hotkeys, generally a faster way to go once you actually learn them and get good at using them.
So that is going to be, oh, no, we do have one more thing, and that's going to be the price line here. So as we go down to the bottom of this price line, so if we see this price line as it goes across, oh, price changes and price line. So price changes, you'll see at the bottom there. So this will actually show you kind of the percent increase and the numeric increase from this first candlestick to the most recent one, and the high low of today and the high low of everything shown on the chart itself. So that's this little functionality down here in the bottom left of the chart. And if we go, we can turn this off. You can see it's no longer down here. You turn it back on, that's what this is showing. So this is the absolute gain. Here, let me turn off this HLSC so you can see what I'm pointing to. This is the absolute gain since this first candle that this chart has had. This is the percentage gain, right? About 0.5%. And then we have the high and low of today and the high and low of since this candle, which is Thursday, November 18th at 0:30, so 12:30 last night. And then we have our price line. Our price line is just going to be the line that comes across from actually our indicative price. So you see right now there's no line coming across. And as I go put price line on, there's a very faint line that comes across from that price line. All right, so we have our layouts. Layouts are, I quite like using layouts. So let's say that you have a certain setup that you always like doing on your charts. Let's say you always like, let's get these drawings out of here real quick. We'll delete our drawings. Let's say you have you always like to put on your Bollinger Bands and you always like to put on your exponential moving average, right? Those are the two that you use all the time. Go in here and let's actually put them on. We'll just put on like standard deviation and we'll just put on a couple Bollinger Bands, right? So we have our Bollinger Bands, we have our standard deviation. Now I can save this as a layout. So let's save it as cool layout 1, 2, 3. So I can actually save this as layout. And now let's say I want to go and trade Aussie dollar, right? I can go trade Aussie dollar, wait for the strikes to come up. There we go. And oops, let's actually delete these. And now if I go back and apply this layout, cool layout 1, 2, 3. It's actually going to apply the indicators. It doesn't just do the indicators though. It will also do, for example, your chart type, any different colorings you like on your charts. So you can save this layout, and if you always use the same thing when coming in and when looking at charts, you can very easily overlay the same thing that you use to trade all the time. So we'll go back to euro dollar just because we do have some open positions there. Let's hide this and hide that. And let's take these indicators off real quick. I like to keep my my thing somewhat clean, and I'm going to hide the strikes as well. So that's going to be really the layout. So you can save them, you can apply them, and then you can delete them. Let's say I don't like my cool layout 1, 2, 3. You can delete it, and it will be gone. Moving on down, customize appearance. So you can customize the appearance of all of the different charting types. So this is going to be the default one. We have our candlesticks with the unchanged white bar, green bar going up, red bar going down, red bar in line. But let's say that I want my falling body lines, my downward lines to be blue. Let's do purple, and my upward lines to be yellow. We just made LSU colors. But I can put these all in here, and I now have this chart that is yellow and purple. So you can customize all of these. You can customize the this is a customized appearance. You can say how thick you want the lines, so you can see these are getting thicker and thinner, etc. You can also show the grid behind. So this like grid. As I turn it off, you can probably see it better, and you can also make it say you want it red. Oh, that's kind of terrible.
That's sort of hurting my eyes. But if you really want to trade like this, go ahead and do it. You can fully customize anything you want. This last thing is going to be showing the watermark. So what this is going to do is just going to overlay a euro dollar behind the chart itself. So it'll overlay the name of the market behind the chart itself. This one I think is better for like if you really want to take a screenshot and show it to people, they can very easily see the market without having to like look up at the top left. So you can do this for all four, right? You can do your Heikin-Ashi, right? You can apply, and then you can actually go back to reset everything to the defaults, and it will reset all of it to the defaults, and you can apply that again. So that's going to be the customize appearance panel. And let me restore this to defaults again because that's looking quite busy. And then the last thing we have down here at the bottom is going to be the export chart functionality. This is basically just going to take a picture of the chart and download it onto your PC. Now, it's not going to work correctly on mine because my Google Chrome is messed up. But usually, so you know, oh, no, it did. Okay, I guess my Google Chrome is working again. So it'll just pop up an image, a PNG downloaded in the bottom left, and you can click it just like any other download, and there we go. There's my setup. So if you have maybe a certain setup that you want to take a picture of or share with other people, or potentially even you're seeing something on the chart that you don't understand that you think might be an issue, you think might be wrong, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this using this manner. And you know, sometimes our customer service asks for screenshots of the charts to try to see, you know, if you have an issue, try to solve your issues. So an easier way to do that as well. So you can always export that that chart. So that's going to be really everything that we have when actually clicking into the functionality, both on, well, actually the right click functionality. There's a couple more things though that I do want to go over here. So you'll see, first of all, as I zoom in and as I zoom out, right, I'm just scrolling with my, I'm just scrolling with my mouse, and as I zoom in, as I zoom out, the chart is sort of expanding and contracting, or the image is expanding and contracting to have the entire chart in the picture. But if I were to, let's show the strengths for this. If I were to go in here and, you know, maybe drag this around, now as I zoom in and as I zoom out, you'll see it's no longer sort of auto expanding the chart, right? It's because I went in and I clicked and I dragged it around. It's not going to auto expand that chart anymore. So people often ask, well, you know, I messed that up. How do I get that functionality back? So if you go up here to this top left and you hit this latest price button, it's not only going to bring you back to the latest candlestick, but it's also going to re-enable this sort of scrolling feature. So we can see here, I scroll in, scroll out. It is the entire time I'm zooming in, zooming out, it is keeping the chart in the frame. And now as I move it around again, I scroll in, scroll out, it's no longer keeping the chart in the frame. So just a little bit, another kind of tip or trick that's not readily, you know, it's not the most intuitive thing in the world, maybe is the correct answer there, or the correct statement. And so one other thing, and I did mention this briefly before, are going to be the tear-off charts. So I think these tear-off charts are super important, especially when I'm trying to trade. I'm trying to look at multiple markets, look at multiple charts at the same time, because I know a lot of people do like doing that. You can do that on Nadex. So you just have to set it up. It's a little bit manual. But if I go back up here to this sort of hamburger menu is what I'm calling it, I hit it. And so we can do our switch to quick chart, which we did earlier. We can also tear off the chart itself. If I click this, it's going to open another window with my euro dollar chart in it. So what I can do with this, and I'm going to just throw this over my second screen real quick. So let's say I always like to trade the euro dollar, the Aussie dollar, and I can tear this off, the dollar yen, and the pound dollar, right? So let's find these markets. We have our pound dollar. I can tear this off. And when I tear these off, I'm just moving them to my other screen over on my other side here, but I will show you in a second what this looks like. And what did I say the other one? Dollar yen, sure, those are some of our more popular markets, and I'm bringing up. I can tear these off, and now let's say I just want to look at them all on one screen. It's a little bit harder to do on a smaller laptop screen, but I do usually have, I think this is better if you do have multiple monitors, but you can kind of get in here and
move these up and down, so I can see my pound dollar, I can see my dollar yen, I can see my Aussie dollar and my my euro dollar chart all on the same screen here, right? And so I know this is you can kind of play around with it, get it looking a little bit better. And so this is how I like to trade if I like to be looking at a lot of different charts at the same time. You can kind of move it around here, see on your screen that, okay, now I can look at all 4 of these markets I like to trade. If you do want to get into a contract, you can always click the chart itself, and you can do all of that from the individual tear-off ticket window, rather than jumping into further into or going back into the actual platform itself. So yeah, this is how you do your tariff chart functionality. And again, I will show you one more time how to do that. I'm going to exit out of these. That's going to be at the top right of the chart. This little menu here that has both the tear-off chart and the switch to quick chart. That's going to be most of the functionality. We do have a few minutes left, so I will go ahead and show go over RSI and exponential moving average just a little bit. So first, let's put on this indicator, the exponential moving average indicator. So what the exponential moving average is, it's a moving average that takes more into account periods that are closer rather than further back, so you get a sort of better averaging on the on what's happening more currently in the market. And so that's going to be my 3 lines. So generally, exponential moving average, it's going to give you a 20 period, a 50 period, and a 100 period EMA. And so this is a momentum indicator. And so you can go actually change that here. So let's say if you're doing moving average convergence divergence, I think it's a 26 and a 52 is what people look at a lot, and look at those crosses. So you can look at the crosses of the EMA as well. Let's zoom out here. Yeah, it took a second. I don't know why that did that. And so you want to be looking for these crossing points as maybe a indicator to jump in and get into a trade. So that's what the very basics of the EMA are. Again, I am trying to keep this one a little bit short, so I'm not going to go fully into all the functionality of this. We do some webinars that go a little bit more into indicators, and I might do another one if all of you really do want that sort of content. I can actually do another one where we just go over indicators, but I do want to keep this webinar a little bit on the shorter side today, and also gotta be sipping my water because I am feeling under the weather. All right, and then the other one we wanted to show is the RSI. The RSI stands for the Relative Strength Index, and let's put this on. The RSI, and actually I'll put our EMA back on, why not? So the RSI is going to give us periods of basically where we can see a underlying market or an asset is overbought or oversold, right? So when I put RSI on, that's going to be one of the indicators that comes down below the chart itself. And so you'll see here, first of all, we have this 70 and we have this 30, right? So basically an RSI, it's the relative strength index. It's a calculation of the relative strength of the underlying market. And very, very basically, what you want to be looking for is when this RSI metric crosses over this 30 period or this 70 period. So crossing over underneath the 30 period is going to give you a signal that the contract is oversold. And so it might be a signal that you would like to actually buy the contract. If you actually get into, and we can see back here, these red lines are going above the 70 point, we can see that the contract may be overbought, and you're going to want to actually go ahead and sell that contract. That's going to be a what we call a sell signal. As with all indicators, this is something very important to remember. No indicator is an end-all be-all every single time, always going to be correct. But what you do want to use indicators as, and what a lot of people do, is set up multiple indicators and say, okay, when these are, let's say, look, when the 20 and 50, or let's do the 26-52 period, right? That's the MACD levels. So let's say the 26 and the 52 period are crossing at the same time that this is saying, okay, this is oversold. Well, that might actually be a pretty good buy signal, right? So we have a couple signals matching up, and we can also, if you really want
higher overbought, oversold levels, if you really want to be super sure of this, you can go into the RSI and actually change that that RSI. So let's say we could put this up to 80 and put this down to 20. We say even here at 20, we have a point where, I mean, my God, it going below 20 is actually a very, I would say, very oversold signal. And you can see here, as 20 is right here with this candlestick, and right on this oversold signal, we had a upward movement in the underlying market. So that's what you want to be looking for. So signals that the market is moving down that you might want to buy. So this cross right here in the EMA, as well as an RSI oversold metric lining up, might be a pretty good buy opportunity. Again, none of this is gospel. None of it will work all of the time. But it is, indicators are just a good way we can use some technical analysis to try to figure out different things about the charts like momentum and say, okay, this just crossed, this is oversold, I want to buy here and get some of this upward direction. And so that's going to be really everything we have today. I know I do talk a little bit fast sometimes, so if any of you have any questions, we haven't had any come in, but you can go ahead, throw it in the chat. Excuse me, sorry about that. Feel free to go ahead, throw it in the chat. I am going to switch back over to, oh, actually, I completely forgot here. There's, so I do want to just show, so the call spreads and the knockouts as well. I know we look primarily at binaries. The call spreads and knockouts have different functionality where you can actually see how, it has different design to show you how the different ranges are overlaid, right? So the binaries have the individual strikes. The call spreads, you know, we have these floor and ceiling ranges here, right? So you can see if I go up, you have the floor and ceiling of this call spread, this call spread, this call spread, and they go red or blue if you click on the sides. And then the knockouts also has a different design for, you know, the actual functionality of choosing different knockouts. You're going to see here, let me see if I can get this down. You can see all 4 of these bars here. So you can see knockout 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left-hand side is going to be where you can actually choose the different levels and ranges for your knockouts. If you do want to learn more about knockouts and call spreads, I do a webinar, and I actually love doing this one, that's a little bit more in depth on the call spread and on the knockout product. Obviously, the most people do trade binaries on our exchange, but I do quite like the call spread and knockout products because they are a very good option just for an overall, you know, Nadex experience and Nadex sort of a portfolio, if you will. But anyway, that's going to be really the end of everything we have on the chart itself. We do have a question coming in here, and while we have that coming in, I'm going to put the this back up. So the question is, sorry, let me put this back up. So the question we have coming in is, what pair would you recommend for a beginner trader trading in off hours? So that is it's a difficult question to answer because there are a lot of pairs. I'm assuming, yeah, you said pair. So I'm assuming you're looking primarily at Forex rather than some of our equity or indice contracts. I mean, it's more about knowing how a market moves during off hours. I would recommend if you're very new to maybe choose one market and really get a good idea of how it moves. You know, maybe going into a lunch hour. This is a complete example. I'm not saying this happens, but maybe going into a lunch hour, you know, euro dollar early rallies at the lunch or something, or during off hours, as you stated. So maybe overnight, or you know, even middle of the day if you're trading euro yen, or let's say the pound euro trade, when it's sort of the middle or later in the day in the US, that's in off hours for that market because that's you know, euro, and they're about 6 hours ahead of us, 6, 7, 8 hours depending where you are in the eurozone. So you know, you can always trade those in the middle of the day or wait until night and trade some of the contracts we have. We don't have all of our US contracts that trade overnight or all of our USD based pairs, but stuff like Aussie dollar, stuff like dollar yen, euro dollar, pound dollar, all of those do trade overnight. So you know, maybe I think it's less about which specific pair I would recommend for a beginner trader. It's more about, if you are a beginner trader, maybe choose one market that you really like, that you really want to learn, and see, you know, you'll start to recognize patterns in an individual market. Say, you know,
maybe at 2 a.m. every day, the $0 tanks or something. Or when, liquidity is less, like you'll see a lot more, either actually generally in off hours, you see a lot more flat trading. So a lot more just sideways moves. And that might be a time when you want to get into, maybe you want to get into a $90 binary if something's going flat, right? Because there's a lot less chance that that's going to come up, right? You pay $90 to get in, you get a $100 payout if it doesn't go against you, and you pocket $10 profit. It's only $10 profit, but again, if you're having kind of flat movement, it's I would say it's probably a less risky trade, although obviously there is risk in everything. And so again, that might be a strategy. I'm not saying that is a strategy that works. I would just say, yeah, my recommendation would be learn a market, especially learn how to trade during certain hours. If you do have any other questions, throw them in the chat. That is the only one that is in the chat right now. While I am waiting for any other questions, I will go through this nice little slide here at the end that our marketing and social media teams always like me to plug here. I do always joke about this, but this is it does help us out. So first of all, if you do need help, if you do see something that you can't figure out, or you have questions that you're not sure of after this webinar, you think of one, or if you're watching a recording and want to ask a question, shoot us an email, customerservice@nadex.com. You can also live chat with us if you go onto our platform, and I believe there should just be a little live chat bubble. You can click that live chat with us. That's probably a good way to get a very quick response. If you are enjoying trading here, go to Trustpilot, leave us a review, helps us out. And then follow us on socials, all our socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. It actually is pretty good. I follow our Twitter account. We do tweet out, especially when things are going crazy in the market or when holidays, etc. We do tweet those out. And then our YouTube channel is another good one, especially if you're watching this webinar. You can go back, watch any previous webinars. I generally do about one a week, so you can watch one on the general platform functionality that I do. You can watch one on the calls for the knockouts that I do. Or if you're just sick of me, we have a lot of other not performers. We have a lot of other smart people giving webinars that are probably more interesting to listen to than hear me drone on for an hour. So there's definitely a lot of variety, a lot of content on our YouTube. Definitely go there and check it out. That is, I'm not seeing any more questions here, so that's going to be the end of the webinar here today. Thank you all for just coming here for the last hour or so and listening to me ramble on about our charts. I do always, Thursday is my favorite time of the week where I get to talk to you guys and chat with you about charts. So thanks for coming along. Hope you learned something. If you do have any questions, throw them in the emails to customerservice@nadex.com. And other than that, just have a great rest of your day and best of luck in your trading.